We begin with Trump vows to end war as Ukraine strikes weaken. Minister says Israel applying Gaza lessons in West Bank operation. South Korea's anti-graft agency urges insurrection charges for Yoon. Trump administration vows unwavering support for Philippines and Trump's plans to reclassify Yemen's Houthis as terrorist organization. On Russia-Ukraine war, as U.S. President Donald Trump unveiled a 100-day effort to end the war in Ukraine, Kyiv's long-range weapons were shocking the heart of Russia's war effort, its oil depot, weapon storage, and factories. On Monday, Trump took the oath of office, saying success will be measured not just by the battles that we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps, most importantly, the wars we never get into. That was a reference to his oft-stated belief that the administration of his predecessor, ex-U.S. President Joe Biden, erred in letting the Ukraine war to start and his promise to end it as quickly as possible. Trump's special envoy, retired U.S. General Keith Kellogg, has set himself a 100-day challenge to achieve a ceasefire. Vladimir Putin, Russian president, held an unprecedented National Security Council meeting on Trump's inauguration day, repeating his willingness to enter negotiations. He said a solution should remove the root causes of the war, a reference to NATO's eastward expansion. On Wednesday, Sergei Ryabkov, the Russian deputy foreign minister, said that Trump administration presented an opportunity for agreement. Compared to the pessimism under the previous U.S. president, today there is a small chance of opportunities, he said at an academic event in Moscow. As these developments of high politics unfolded, Ukraine was marching through Russian aerial defenses and burning some of the enemy's ability to wage war. That campaign of strategic interdiction was evidently weakening the Russian war effort, said Ukrainian Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrsky. During the past week, Ukraine scored many hits. Ukraine's general staff said 3 of their drones hit the Lyskinskaya oil depot in the Russian region of Voronezh, engulfing it in flames on January 16th. This oil depot provides fuel to the Russian military, they said. Andriy Kovalenko, head of Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation, said drones also hit the Tambov gunpowder plant in Kuzmino Ghats. The plant produces gunpowder and nitrocellulose for use in rocket systems, artillery shells, and other systems, he said. Still sticking in war, but in Gaza and Israel conflict, Israel's defense minister said Israeli forces are applying methods learned during the war on Gaza to their ongoing Iron War military operation in the occupied West Bank, where forces have killed at least 10 people in Jenin and ordered residents to flee the area's refugee camp. On Wednesday, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said that the Jenin operation, which is entering its 3rd day, marks a shift in Israel's military plan in the occupied West Bank and was the first lesson from the method of repeated raids in Gaza. An Israeli military spokesperson refused to give details of the Jenin operation, who started on Tuesday and is the 3rd major attack by the Israeli army in less than 2 years into Jenin, a long-time stronghold of resistance to Israel's decades-old military occupation of the Palestinian territory. Residents inside the Jenin refugee camp reported constant gunfire and explosions on Wednesday, while the Palestinian Health Services reported at least 4 injured in the camp. Israeli forces have used advanced weaponry and warfare methods, including airstrikes, on the Jenin camp, which is now nearly uninhabitable, with an approximated 2,000 families displaced from the area since December. The United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, said on Wednesday Israel's massive operation in Jenin also threatens to weaken the fragile ceasefire reached just days ago in Gaza, said Roland Friedrich, United Nations RWA's Director of Affairs for the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem. According to reports, 2 Palestinians were killed by Israeli forces on Wednesday in the Wad Burkin area close to the city of Jenin. According to reports from Palestine, that Israeli forces had surrounded a building in the town of Burkin and ordered the occupants to exit using a loudspeaker. Air raids from Israeli drones hit the house while soldiers on the ground fired anti-tank grenades at the building, which was then flattened by military bulldozers. On Tuesday, as the Israeli attack got underway, 10 Palestinians were killed and dozens others injured in the Jenin area, including children and medical workers. According to reports, Jenin's governor, Kamal Abu Arub, said the situation was very difficult as Israeli military bulldozers had torn up all roads leading to the Jenin refugee camp and Jenin's government hospital. Israeli forces had also arrested closely 20 people from villages around Jenin since the operation started on Tuesday. He said on Monday, Guterres told the United Nations Council meeting of his fears over an existential threat to the integrity and continuity of Gaza and the occupied West Bank from Israel, and amid the unabated expansion of illegal Israeli settlements. The United Nations chief said senior Israeli officials openly speak of formally annexing all or part of the West in the coming months. Now, South Korea's anti-corruption agency has suggested that President Yoon Suk-yeol be charged with insurrection and abuse of power following an investigation into the impeached leader's short-lived martial law declaration. On Thursday, the Corruption Investigation Office for High-Ranking Official CIO said that it requested prosecutors to file the charges after that Yoon had halted civil rule with the intent to exclude state authority or disrupt the constitutional order. Following the CIO's transfer of the case, the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office will have 11 days to decide whether to charge Yoon and send him to trial. Yoon, who has been suspended from his duties since a December 14th impeachment vote by the National Assembly, was apprehended at his residence in Seoul last week after refusing repeated summons to appear for questioning. His arrest marked the first time in South Korean history that a sitting president was taken into custody. Yoon's lawyers have argued that a CIO established in 2021 under Moon's predecessor, Moon Jae-in, does not have the authority to probe the president for insurrection and that his arrest was illegal. Insurrection is one of the few crimes for which the president does not enjoy immunity under South Korean law. The offense is punishable by life imprisonment or the death penalty, though the East Asian country has a long-standing moratorium on executions. Yoon's political fate is distinctly under consideration by the Constitutional Court, which has 180 days to decide whether to uphold his impeachment or restore his presidential authority. During his first appearance before the 9-member court on Tuesday, Yoon refuted ordering forces to forcibly remove lawmakers from the National Assembly so they will not be able to vote to overturn his brief martial law decree. Yoon told the court that lawmakers could have assembled elsewhere to overturn his December 3rd decree, which he rescinded within hours following a unanimous National Assembly vote. Choi Sung-mong, Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, has served as the country's acting president since December 27th, when lawmakers impeached Yoon's initial successor, Han Duk-soo, for refusing to immediately fill 3 vacancies on the Constitutional Court. Marco Rubio, new United States Secretary of State, assured Manila of Washington's ironclad commitment to defending the Philippines in the face of Chinese provocation in the South China Sea during his first call with Philippines Foreign Minister Enrique Manalo. In the call on Wednesday with Manalo, Rubio also criticized Beijing's dangerous and destabilizing actions in the South China Sea, which the U.S.'s top diplomats said violated international law. The State Department said in a statement, Secretary Rubio conveyed that China's behavior undermines regional peace and stability and is inconsistent with international law. An armed attack in the Pacific, including anywhere in the South China Sea on either of their public vessels, aircraft or armed forces, which includes their coast guards, would invoke mutual defense commitments, the State Department noted. In 1951, Washington and the Philippines, a former U.S. colony, signed the Mutual Defense Treaty, stipulating that both countries would come to one another's defense if they faced attack. Rubio held the call with his Philippine counterpart a day after holding a 4-way meeting with his quadrilateral security dialogue counterparts from India, Japan, and Australia. In a veiled cautioning to Beijing, the 4-country diplomatic and security grouping known as the Quad said they support a free and open Indo-Pacific region where the rule of law, democratic values, sovereignty, and territorial integrity are upheld and defended. China holds expansive claims covering most of the South China Sea, infringing on the maritime claims of many Southeast Asian nations, including the Philippines. Meanwhile, the White House has said United States President Donald Trump has set in motion a process to release Yemen's Houthis as a foreign terrorist organization. Trump's executive order, signed on Wednesday by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, to submit a report concerning the designation within 30 days after consultation with the Director of National Intelligence and the Secretary of the Treasury. Rubio will then have 15 days to take all appropriate action concerning the designation of the rebel group, also known as Ansar Allah. Trump's order to review the Houthi status is fundamentally a formality, as a follow-up statement from the White House confirmed that Rubio, who called for the redesignation during his time as a senator, had been directed to recommend the listing. Trump listed the Yemeni group as a foreign terrorist organization and specially designated global terrorist SDGT entity during the final days of his first term. Ex-U.S. President Joe Biden's administration obtained Trump's designations weeks after coming into office, with former Secretary of State Antony Blinken citing recognition of the dire humanitarian situation in Yemen. The Biden administration reimposed the SDGT designation, the narrower of the two classifications, in January last year in response to the rebel group's repeated attacks on commercial shipping in the Red Sea. The White House said in a statement that Biden's weak policy had resulted in the Houthis firing on U.S. Navy warships dozens of times, targeting commercial vessels more than 100 times, and attacking civilian infrastructure in partner nations. Once the Houthis are relisted, Trump's order also ordered the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, to end its relationship with entities that have made payments to the group or oppose efforts to counter it, while turning a blind eye towards its terrorism and abuses. Trump's order came just hours after the Houthis announced they had released the crew of the Galaxy Leader cargo vessel, which was seized by the Iran-aligned group shortly after the start of Israel's war in Gaza. The group's Supreme Political Council said it had granted the release of 25 crew members as part of its efforts to support the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, which began on Sunday. On more stories, and still sticking with the United States, New Hills wildfire rages in mountains near Los Angeles. In the mountains north of Los Angeles, a fast-moving wildfire erupted and ripped through an approximated 21 square kilometers, 8.1 square miles of trees and brush, leading to thousands of evacuation orders for local residents and sending a huge plume of dark smoke into the sky. On Wednesday, firefighters said the Hills fire in the Castaic Lake area of Los Angeles County, located around 80 kilometers 50 miles north of the city of Los Angeles, triggered evacuation orders to local residents amid the immediate threat to life due to the blaze. A projected 18,600 people live in the local community, where ferocious flames devour trees and brush on the hillsides around Castaic Lake. Robert Johnson of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department asked everyone in the fire-affected area to leave quickly and not suffer the same fate as some in the devastating fires that hit the Los Angeles area of Eaton and Palisades, as well as other areas that killed 28 people and left several homeless. The blaze was fanned by strong, dry Santa Ana winds that raced through the area, pushing a vast pile of smoke and embers ahead of the flames. Firefighting crews from the Los Angeles County Fire Department and Angeles National Forest were also attacking the blaze from the ground. It was not instantly known what stoked the fire, but it happened during the red flag fire conditions, when meteorologists say strong winds and low humidity create conditions ripe for rapid fire spread. U.S. President Donald Trump, who criticized the reaction to earlier wildfires in the Los Angeles area during his inaugural address on Monday, said he will visit the city on Friday. As the new fire raged in Castaic, the Eaton and Palisades fire there has also ravaged Los Angeles, have been brought under greater control, the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, CAL FIRE, said. The Eaton fire, which has burned through 5,674 hectares, 14,021 acres east of Los Angeles, is now 91% contained, while the larger Palisades fire, which has consumed 9,489 hectares, that's 23,448 acres on the west side of Los Angeles, is almost 70% contained, authorities said. Since the Eaton and Palisades fires broke out on January 7th, they have killed 28 people and damaged or destroyed nearly 16,000 structures, according to CAL FIRE. In African scenes, Italy outraged as Libyan warlord freed over legal error. On Wednesday, human rights organizations and opposition lawmakers in Italy stated their rage after the country released a Libyan warlord due to legal technicality. The decision came after he was arrested under an international criminal court warrant that accused him of war crimes and crimes against humanity. Carlo Nordio, Italian Justice Minister, faced tough questions regarding the release of Osama Angiem, also known as Osama al-Masri, who leads the Tripoli branch of the Reform and Rehabilitation Institution, a notorious network of detention centers operated by the government-supported Special Defense Force. When pressed for details or to reaffirm Italy's dedication to international justice, Nordio remained silent. On January 18th, the ICC warrant issued in Italian court documents charges al-Masri with war crimes and crimes against humanity connected to actions at the Matiga prison in Libya since 2011, offenses that could lead to life imprisonment. Al-Masri was apprehended on Sunday in Turin, where he had attended a Juventus-Milan soccer match the previous evening. Rome's Court of Appeals on Tuesday ordered his release, citing a procedural blunder in his arrest, and he was flown back to Libya on a plane operated by the Italian Secret Services. The court ruled that Nordio should have been notified in advance, as the Justice Ministry is responsible for all interactions with the court based in The Hague. According to a report, upon his return to Tripoli late on Tuesday, al-Masri was greeted at Mitiga Airport by supporters who celebrated his freedom. More stories will come your way just after this break. Please don't go anywhere. You're welcome back, and now stories from Nigeria. We begin with NLC mobilizes Nigerians against 50% telecom tariff rise. Yesterday, the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC rallied Nigerians to reject the 50% telecommunications tariff spike approved by the federal government through the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC). According to NLC, the 50% tariff hike approval at a time when Nigerian workers and the masses are battling with unprecedented economic hardship is a clear assault on the welfare and an abandonment of the people to corporate fat cuts. Telecommunication services are essential for daily communication work and access to information, yet an average Nigerian worker already spends approximately 10% of their wages on telecom charges. For a worker earning the current minimum wage of 70,000, this means an increase from 7,000 to a staggering 10,500 per month, or 15% of his salary, a cost that is unsustainable. This hike exemplifies the government's apparent ease in prioritizing corporate profits over citizens' welfare. It is shocking that the government approved this 50% tariff increase for telecom companies within a month, yet took nearly a year to approve the recent minimum wage for workers, despite the rising cost of living and inflation eroding purchasing power. This glaring disparity underscores a troubling reality. The government appears more aligned with the interests of wealthy corporations than with the needs of the workers and citizens it is meant to serve. And finally on the news, Kano, Niger Republic Rail communities challenge FG on 3,252 payouts. On the $1.96 billion Kano Maradi Rail project, construction work has increased despite the strained ties between the federal government and the military junta in Niger after a pause. The Nigerian government has accused the Bola Tinubu administration of plotting to destabilize the francophone country. The project, partly financed by the African Development Bank, will run through 122 communities in 25 local government areas across 3 states in Nigeria and 11 communities in 3 communes in Niger Republic. Approved in September 2020 by the Federal Executive Council, the 283.75 kilometer standard gauge railway line will link Kano, Katsina, and Jigawa states in Nigeria with Maradi in Niger Republic. Findings show that 3,252 displaced persons have yet to be compensated 3 years after this project began. A settlement audit report prepared by the project consultant Windforce Safeguards Limited said the victims include farmers whose farmlands are on the rail lines right on way and many residents who had been forced to leave their ancestral homes. According to a study commissioned by African Finance Corporation, the rail project, which will be finished in 2026, was anticipated to displace 12,695 homes and 2,064 assets on the railway corridor. Out of the 20.32 billion naira earmarked for asset valuation, 12.307 billion naira had been paid to 16,032 of the 19,284 enumerated persons. However, closely 5,531 persons are dissatisfied with the compensation paid to them. Also, residents of Dali, Yamawar, Wanzamai, Tsadoji, Fitare, Wallere, Firji, Dan, Haji, Yamel, Muduru, Durbi, Guru, and Gamoji communities within the rail corridor in Kano State complained about the meager compensation they were paid for their assets. To refresh our memories, Trump vows to end war as Ukraine strikes weaken. Minister says Israel applying Gaza lessons in West Bank operation. South Korea's anti-graft agency urges insurrection charges for Yoon. Trump administration vows unwavering support for Philippines. And Trump's plans to reclassify Yemen's Houthis as terrorist organization. That's all on the news. Thanks for watching. Till next time, have a blessed day.